Back in August of 2022, I released my first game on Steam called Don't Stop You'll Die. It took about 6 weeks to get the game from a prototype to being fully released, and the goal behind the project was to learn how to actually finish and release a small game on Steam. As people played it more, they found more bugs, balancing issues, and started giving feedback on features or mechanics that they wanted in the game. So I continued to work away on small updates until I eventually burnt myself out completely. After a while, I picked the project back up again and started working on a massive overhaul. I'm talking a whole new art style and a whole new codebase just to make things cleaner under the hood, which would make my life easier when it came to making new content. And like before, I burnt myself out, and I eventually repeated this cycle about 2 or 3 times with the same result. But I wanted to give it one last shot. I was determined, and then Unity's terms of service and pricing changes were announced, and that was the final nail in the coffin. If you didn't see my previous video, I'll link that below, but in short, I decided to bail on the Unity engine and continue making games elsewhere. Straight away I ruled out Unreal Engine as I felt like it was fairly bloated and my PC couldn't run it without turning into a rocket. I'd used Godot once before and it just wasn't for me, so I decided to give GameMaker a go. I'd used this engine over 10 years ago when I was just dabbling in making games and had no design experience whatsoever, and I can remember actually finishing games in it back then. So if 12-year-old Jay could make little games back then with no experience, I feel like I at least had some sort of a chance with the engine now. So I wasted no time in downloading it. I then followed a few tutorials on the GameMaker YouTube and then pretty much jumped into the deep end with it. After about 40 hours of work, this is what I had. A little top-down shooter with player movement, multiple weapons, simple enemy AI, you name it, I had it. It's definitely been a learning curve so far, but it's been very enjoyable. And now that there was pretty much a core game loop in with a bit of polish and visual effects, I decided the next best thing to do would be rework the weapon system to allow more flexibility and customization on my end and a better game feel experience for the player. I had a look into how to use structs to store different stats and variables for the weapons and bullets themselves and adapt the way I was originally using to make weapons to accommodate for these changes. This took me way longer than I thought it would have, and I actually thought for the first time in a while that I was out of my depth with this one. But after a few hours, I got it working, and this was the result. I can now customize the weapon's fire rate with a bunch of options, its fire mode, the weapon kickback and recoil, the weapon's accuracy, and so much more. I'm still not 100% happy with it just yet, so I think I'll leave it out of the game for the time being until I can polish it up to get the best results. With that being said though, I still learned a lot from it. I then got to work on adding the player's dash ability. Getting the dash to work was fairly simple, but I did struggle a little bit with getting the trail effect to look how I wanted it to. But with some tweaking, I got it there. I then spent some time implementing a run timer and addressed a few pressing bugs that were in the current Steam version of the game that I just couldn't fix in Unity. I also added controller support, which feels really nice to play. But that's all for this devlog. Learning a new engine after so many years has been rough, but it's been very rewarding at the same time. And I'm pretty excited to continue development on this Don't Stop You'll Die update. I'm not too sure when the update will be out, but I'm hoping to have more on that soon. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're interested in playing Don't Stop You'll Die, I'll leave a link to the Steam page in the description below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.